So we've got this customer's Mark 7 Clubsport in, which is the CJX engine, front wheel drive, same engine that you'll find in the Mark 7 Golf Rs and some of the Cupras. Basically this has just come in, we've not done any hardware to this car, we're just going to put the Stage 2 software in it. The car has got a racing line intake, R600 airbox with the inlet pipe and the turbo elbow. It's got a decat downpipe on it. It has got a stock intercooler, so that'll be the limitation for the Stage 2 on this car. Obviously the cars with the Wagner intercoolers as such that we fit on most of the MQB chassis cars, this will run slightly higher inlet temps just because of that, which just then means that the the ignition timing may be slightly less because it scales with the inlet temps. So if the inlet temps start to climb, it will try and pull out some ignition timing just to try and keep the car happy as such. But obviously if we were to fit a Wagner intercooler after the tune, it'd try and run the maximum amount of ignition that's calibrated to that ECU. That's obviously making more power for longer. Obviously common misconception with intercooler, am I going to gain 15 horsepower? It's like, well no, not really, but ultimately you're going to have more power for longer because you're able to keep the inlet temps down so the car can then run the maximum amount of ignition.
Bruh.
Matt! So obviously the cooler the air, the denser it is, the more power you'll make because the ignition's there to burn the fuel as such in the air. But yeah, so the car is currently flashing the ECU. We've got a TCU to do on this as well. So we're going to flash the gearbox on this car. It's come equipped with a DQ250 as standard. You have to map the gearboxes on these when you do the stage, I mean even stage 1 software, we recommend doing it with the gearbox because you end up with increased power and engine demand, increased power and torque from the engine. And gearbox needs to be able to accommodate that so you prevent clutch slip. So the clamping pressures all get increased with the TCU software and generally just smoothing out the drivability of these cars. But yeah, we'll get the TCU flashed after the ECU. We'll get it on the get it synced up to the dyno, do a run, see what it does. Basically going to be working for us now because I need you to hold that laptop.
Perfect, I'm on it.
So essentially all we're going to do is obviously got the car off the dyno, made good power for the hardware that's on it, 397 for 44 foot-pounds. Obviously that's on 99 ROM fuel.
Yep.
With the racing line elbow and the R600 intake. Obviously stock intercooler again, like I said, a bit of a limitation. So I mean 48 degrees on the dyno, inlet air temps, which is why it pulls out, tries to do a little bit less ignition timing as such.
Got ya.
All we're going to do is obviously drive it, make sure everything's sweet, in sport, manual, drive. Because obviously this car's had a TCU tune in it as well to match up with the engine software. And then you're basically going to log it whilst I drive. Because me looking on the passenger seat whilst I'm logging it is probably not the best idea.
Yeah, probably. I'd agree.
As much as I think I'm a great driver, I can't do it blind, so.
Sweet. Hopefully I don't fuck up reading a computer.
If you can fuck up pressing start and then pressing stop. Fair play, mate. You're doing better than I am.
Oh dear.
It's probably a good job Will's not out doing this logging with you because he'd end up just buying another Clubsport after this. Certain he regrets selling that. Certain. So all we want to do now is just make sure that the logs basically replicate what it did on the dyno. Obviously the dyno is the closest representation to it being on the road.
Yeah.
Obviously relative to load and things like that and airflow. But obviously there's no better test than actually getting out in the car and bringing the laptop with you and seeing exactly what the ECU is trying to make the engine do.
Perfect. So at the moment all this is sort of live data before?
Yeah, this is literally what the car's doing right now.
Cool.
Which is why we're going to basically get to the A road and do a 4th gear pull. So just from very low RPM in 4th. So it gives us the longest window of data that we can potentially get on the road.
Sick.
And then on the way back down, we'll go from probably 2nd in sport. Just make sure when it goes through the gears, it's not doing anything weird like chucking loads of timing in or over boosting on gear change and stupid stuff like that. That's quite obviously variables. It's not just a case of, well, just do it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine, but it's not that easy. So you just got to do what you can do. Fortunately for this customer, he had a box code that was quite applicable. So I'm basically gonna just press resume there.
Yep.
Sport, do you know what I mean? It's obviously the pops and bangs are there in sport. You put it in drive. If you want to just be normal and reserved, you've got the option to. For a car with the hardware that's on it, it feels strong.
I think you'll be happy with this. I'd be happy with this.
Well, hopefully. If not, we'll just have to make it faster.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels really smooth the way it's like sort of delivering the power as well.
Yeah. There's no
like sort of like sudden.
No, it's not just a punch in the back.
Yeah.
It's considering it's a front-wheel drive car. Then I think it drives absolutely sweet.
Yeah, mega.
Obviously, when you start getting into the territory of verging into stage 3 on a club sport, then it's a little bit more of a different story. Then
I can imagine.
It's tyres every week and fuel all the time. Mrs is moaning at you because it's too loud.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, I'll bet. But your neighbours absolutely hate you.
Despise me.
You see them early starts and you think, oh, someone's going to slash my tyres. But yeah, I mean, ultimately we're going to go back, look at the login, make sure that I'm happy with the login.
Sweet.
Obviously put it under Will's nose as well, make sure that he's happy with it, and then let the customer know that his car's ready to pick up, and then that's it.
So what does it do now? Will this sort of all be transferred into a graph similarly to how it was on the dyno?
Exactly the same as the dyno. So
Okay.
basically, it's every time you press start and stop, it saves it in the same file. Obviously, because we've not changed the name of the file, it basically just adds it on to what we've already got.
Sweet.
And that's why, obviously, VisaPad comes fairly good for logging, because you can just, like, for argument's sake, if we've got a car that's got a hesitant issue, but it doesn't always do it all the time, you can drive it, and as soon as you feel it, you can just literally press start and see what the car's doing, rather than having to go through a process of loading a preset file to then log it, to then come back out, and then have to go back in. Where you can just press start, stop as many times as you want and capture as much data as you need. It saves it in an Excel format, so I can put all the data, group it all together, put it in the line graphs like we would have seen on the dyno in the previous videos, and then I'll just basically sit and have a quick look at that, make sure everything's sweet. Drivability of it's absolutely sweet in drive, sport and manual. So I mean, I'm more than happy for this car to go out, providing everything's sweet with the login.
Sweet. So ideally we just want it to be sort of like as close as possible to what it looks like from being on the dyno is like the goal with it. Yeah. Big things are obviously throttle closure. We don't want any of that. And then obviously just boost specified and actual. We want that to be as close as the specified value, as close as possible. Okay. Again, lambda being a major one, because if it runs lean, that's an issue. We need to address that straight away. Okay. Obviously, it's not our first club sport, so we know exactly what to look for now. We can speed up the process. But obviously, like with any car, be it a 1.6 diesel or an RS6, they all get logged and driven and dynoed to the same extent. So, sweet, man.
Back with the Club Sport after the road test, dynoed at 397 and 443 foot-pounds. Good figures considering the hardware that's on the car. Obviously there's nothing wrong with the car, it's got all the right bits on it. Benefit from a cooler, benefit potentially from a bigger inlet pipe as well. And you're about to get hit by a bus. Back with this, did exactly what it was meant to do. Drove absolutely mint on the road. Obviously, as you'll see in the log, you're about to get hit again by a bus. We will get this video done. Just want to tie it off, that's all we're trying to do. But yeah, so customers, I'm more than happy that the customer's going to be really happy with the car. Did really good figures, it's a nice cool day. Obviously the inlet temps with the stock intercooler, still at like 48, quite high on the road as well, as to be expected with the stock cooler being the fact that it's all plastic end tanks and heat soak and things like that. But yeah, no, all finished, logs look mint, everything to be expected, nothing out of the ordinary. So we'll await the customer and hopefully send them away really happy.